Hare Krishna. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to my regular Wednesday evening talk from the East London, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, or proxy thereof, at my house, which is in Plumstead, for those of you who don't know. I can say that when it wasn't actually this house, it was a previous house, when Srila Govinda Maharaj came to my house, which was also in southeast London, as he was leaving that evening, after having prasadam and speaking with spending time with the devotees there, as he was leaving, he asked somebody, "What part of London is this?" They said, "Southeast London." And he said, "Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, Southeast London branch, Ki Jai." So I was very happy and honoured that he would consider my home to be another branch of his mott. Anyway, as some of you may already know, in the UK, from Monday the 15th of June, places of worship are allowed to reopen, but they must be strictly following social distancing rules, and only for private prayer, it says, for private prayer. So, and it does actually say, uses the word kirtan in the guidelines, which I've been taking advice from all along, and it says no gatherings for kirtan allowed at this moment. So which is unfortunate, but from Monday we will be opening the doors again to the public. Allow people to come into the temple room for darshan of the Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Radha Shyam Sundar, and we will be instituting some rules around that according to the government guidelines. So basically, I mean, watch this space, because I will be making a proper document explaining how and when people can come. So it'll only be during darshan times, and it will be 10 minutes per person will be allowed to come in for 10 minutes, and no more than 4 people in the temple room at any one time. As you know, our temple in East London is very small, so to be able to maintain social distancing, it'll only be we'll only be able to do, allow people in no more than 4 at a time. And during Aarti, we'll have the devotees there will lead the kirtan, and people can attend, but we can't have like everybody coming in for kirtan. So again, that will be 10 minutes per person or party if you're with your family, and no more than 4 people other than the devotees that are resident there at any one time. And we will be asking people to cover their faces while they're in there, cover their mouths, either with a mask or with a bandana or scarf or something of that to that effect. So that's the good news, and hopefully as things carry on, we'll be able to open the temple more. We will be also from Monday allowing devotees that come to do regular service to again begin their service in a controlled way, and other than that, we won't be distributing like full prasadam on Sunday feasts or anything like that, but everyone will be able to get prasadam in their hand, small morsel of prasadam to take away with them on their visit to the temple. That's the idea, at least. As I said, watch this space, and we will see how things go, and we will keep monitoring it, and hopefully, as long as we can manage it happily without people becoming upset or annoyed or breaching the rules, then we should be able to gradually start opening the temple again from Monday the 15th, so which is good news, and I'm sure their lordships will be very happy to see you and your families come to give darshan and say prayers and so on before their lordships. So this evening, today is the appearance day of Bakeshwara Pandit, and Bakeshwara Pandit was one of Mahaprabhu's very close associates. He's not mentioned a great deal in Chaitanya Charitamrita or other places, Chaitanya Bhagavat, but there are some mentions of him, and we understand from Chaitanya Charitamrita or and from the writings of other Goswamis that Rakeshwara Pandit was or is Tungavidya Saki, one of the Asta Sakis of associates of Srimati Radharani. And he would accompany Mahaprabhu when Mahaprabhu would lead Kirtan in Srivasangam, and then later in Puri, when after sannyas, when Mahaprabhu went to Puri. His deities are the deities that are installed in the Radhakanta Mandir, which is the Gambira, where Mahaprabhu spent the last years of his life with, or manifest Leela, you can say, with his devotees, Swarup Damodar, Ramananda Rai, in in search for himself, where he was relishing the inner mood and sentiment of Srimati Radharani. Prakeshwara Pandit was there, and his deities are Radhakanta, and they are installed. That's why the Gambhir is known as the Radhakanta Mott. And he was a dancer. In the kirtan groups of Mahaprabhu, there would be singers, there would be mridanga players, kartal players, and so on, playing different instruments and so on, and dancers. And Brakeshwara Pandit was known to be a very great dancer in kirtan. In fact, it's said that he would dance in Mahaprabhu's kirtan for 72 hours without stopping. Can you imagine? And it's not that, at the end he was in full ecstatic mood when he would dance. 72 hours, that's 3 days non-stop he would dance. And once he prayed to Mahaprabhu, please, he said, "Oh, moon-faced Lord, please give me 10,000 Gandharvas who will sing while I dance." And Mahaprabhu's reply to him was, "Brakeshwara, you are one wing to me, and if I had another devotee like you, I would be able to fly in the sky." So a very high and great devotee of Mahaprabhu, and he also saved, you can say, he saved Damodar Pandit. Damodar Pandit was a professional speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam. He used to recite Srimad Bhagavatam, but according to Shankara's philosophy, Mayavad philosophy. But he was renowned as a speaker on Srimad Bhagavatam, and once Srivas Thakur went to his his talk on Srimad Bhagavatam, and hearing the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srivas Pandit was relishing those in his own inner understanding and feeling about those, and sometimes he was shedding tears and showing some symptoms of ecstasy, and that Damodar Pandit said to some of his followers, "Oh, he's just come here to disturb us with this nonsense. Take him out." And so they took him outside. Doesn't mean like take him out like in a gangster way, but take him outside. And so they took him outside, more or less threw him outside. And Mahaprabhu, when he heard that, he was furious, and he chastised Devananda Pandit, and but he got the opportunity later on to serve Brakeshwara Pandit, and having that opportunity to serve him, he became converted to the to Mahaprabhu's line of devotion. And when Mahaprabhu came, he fell at the feet of Mahaprabhu and said, "Oh, I've made a great offense to you." Mahaprabhu said, "You've not made any offense to me, but you've made great offense to my devotee Sripad. So you go and please ask for his forgiveness," which of course Srivas, being a exemplary Vaishnava, he accepted his contrite nature, and then after that and accepted his apology, and after that Mahaprabhu accepted him amongst the group of his devotees. So that was how Brakeshwara Pandit saved him. Anyway, I don't know much more about him than that. He's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Krishnadas Kaviraj is listing the devotees that were with Mahaprabhu at any particular time in some kirtan or like that, and often you see Brakeshwara Pandit's name is there, and he would dance while Mahaprabhu would sing and lead the kirtan. So his grace, and it says that wherever he went, wherever that place was that he graced, and the devotees or the people within that place, they would be accepted by Mahaprabhu if he was gracious to them. So today we pray for his grace on us, that he'll be gracious to us, and that's more or less as much as I can say about him, because that's as much as I know. So, but Sri Brakeshwara Pandit Prabhu Ki Jai, his holy appearance day today. I had not really any question this week, except so I was discussing with one of my godbrothers this morning about the current situation with the pandemic and all of these things, and there's so many different ideas about where it came from and how what it's actually all about, whether it's more than what we actually see, and many different things, conspiracy theories about this and about that, and my conclusion was, our conclusion was that if whatever the cause may be, and whoever may be behind it, if anyone's behind it, they're not in control either. The point is that governments, they're not in control, and cabals of secret 1% oligarchs or whatever that are running the world, they're also not in control, because Lord Krishna is in control. Everything is happening by the direction and the will of Lord Krishna. And this must be our faith, the line of our faith. We do not subscribe to any other person or persons controlling the world. Only Lord Krishna. Whatever happens, he is sanctioning that, and he is his hand is behind that. And we are to remember that in the midst of everything, he is the supreme controller and the supreme enjoyer and the supreme benefactor of mankind. Whoever may think that they're in charge, whether it be the government or whether it be some secret sinister agencies or Illuminati or whatever there may be, it doesn't matter, because nothing is able to happen without the will of the Lord. Nothing. Without his sanction, nothing can happen. And we should understand that he is always looking for our greatest benefit. So a few years ago, when I was invited to Kiev for the Veda Life Festival there in the Ukraine, on this particular occasion, one day, Srila Avadut Maharaj, he hired some boats to take us down the river, and where we had kirtan and some nice program on the boats, and he asked some of the devotees to like form little groups and have questions and answers and some harikatha and like that. So I was one of the people that he asked to speak to a particular group, and this lady, she asked me, like there are so many problems in the world, so many bad things happen in the world, so much injustice, so much poverty, so much suffering. Why doesn't Krishna just make everything right? Why doesn't he make everything perfect? And it's not a bad question, it's a good question. But the answer is, it's a very simple answer, is that Krishna doesn't make this world perfect for the very simple fact that he wants us to understand that it's not our home. That this isn't the place where we should try to make ourselves a permanent feature or a permanent residence. Because it's not permanent. We're only here for a few short years. We're just passing through. We're not here eternally. But this is the nature of Maya, is that we start to think that our situation is a permanent situation. But that's a type of madness, actually. It's like, if you were abroad in a foreign country, so you have to make some arrangement for your food and lodging and so on. So maybe you stay in a hotel and you have food delivered to you or whatever it is there. But while you're staying in that hotel, you don't start decorating the hotel room that you're in, putting up pictures and painting the walls and making some arrangement for yourself. The management of the hotel would have something to say about that, wouldn't they? And not only would they have something to say about that, they would probably think that you'd gone completely mad. So, but that's what we do here in this material world. We try and make some kind of permanent situation for ourselves, some permanent home for ourselves. And we invest all our time and energy in that, for like a little nest for ourselves and our family, and to try and make everything perfect in this temporary material world. But actually, it's a foolish endeavor. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, our Guru Maharaj, he used to say, in this world we have this mania of homemaking. And just to stop that, our Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he established temples all over the world so that we can utilize that tendency for building a home for Krishna. So we should try to utilize our energy for that, to make everything centered around Lord Krishna. Of course, we all need somewhere where we can stay, somewhere where we find our shelter in this material world. And we must look after our families. But if we try and make that centered around Krishna, make Krishna the center of our home, then everything will be perfect. And our Gurudev, he's established centers, temples where we can come and hear Harikatha, where we can take Bhagavat Prasadam, where we can join in the kirtan with the devotees and see the Lord in his own home. So the temple is the home of the Lord, and we should all contribute to serving and maintaining that temple of the Lord. In this way, our diseased, abnormal mentality of trying to make some permanent arrangement for ourselves here will be counteracted. In Mahabharata, we find that Maharaj Yudhisthira, he was questioned by a yaksha at the what's known in the Mahabharata as the Lake of Death. This story from Mahabharata, when the Pandavas were in exile and they were traveling, they in search of water, in need of water during their travels, they came across a lake. In fact, Yudhisthira sent each of his brothers one by one, first Bhimsen, then Arjun, then Nakula and Sahadev. They all went looking for water, and each one of them in turn came upon this lake. And when they came to the lake, the first thing they did, being parched, was they went to take some water from the lake. But just before they were able to drink the water, a voice came that I am the guardian of the lake, and no one can drink this water unless I give my permission. And so first you must answer my questions. But all of them, being so parched, they ignored the proclamation and said, yeah, more or less said, we'll answer your questions, but first we'll drink some water. And each one of them, when they drank the water, they dropped down as if dead, until finally Yudhisthira Maharaj came. And when he saw the situation, and the yaksha appeared before him and gave him the same warning: I am the guardian of this lake. You cannot drink its water unless I give my permission. First, you must answer some questions. Then Yudhisthira Maharaj agreed. Yes, I'll answer your questions. What are your questions? And maybe 100 questions he asked Yudhisthira Maharaj, and very enlightening dialogue. And Yudhisthira Maharaj's answers are very instructive. And many of them you can find in Mahabharata, those question and answers. And it turns out that yaksha was actually Jamaraj, who is Yudhisthira Maharaj's father, and celestial father, and who came to test the Pandavas and also to discuss Dharma, because Jamaraj is Dharmaraj and one of the 12 Mahajans. So Yudhisthira Maharaj answered his questions, many questions, but one question was, what is amazing? In this world, what is amazing? Or what is astonishing in this world? Something to that effect. And Yudhisthira Maharaj said, what is astonishing in this world is that at every moment, everyone is entering into the jaws of death. We see our mother, our father, our brothers, our sisters, even our children sometimes, all entering into the jaws of death. No one is spared. Everyone must die. But what's astonishing is that we all live our life as if we're never going to die. We're always thinking, even if we think about it, yes, death is coming, but not today. Not today. And always we're thinking in that way. So we're thinking that although we know that we're not here forever, we act as if we're here forever, and we try to make some arrangement in this material world for our comfort and convenience and our enjoyment in this material world. But actually, it is a mistake, a mistaken endeavor. Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, he said, this world is like the latrine, the toilet. This world is like the latrine. You should go in, do your business, and get out as quickly as possible. So that's the fact. This material world is not our home, and is not the place where we should be trying to make arrangements for some permanent accommodation. When we are away from our home, of course we need to make some provision there. But we should not think that this is our permanent place. And rather, we should be making all endeavor to return to our real home. And that real home is Vaikuntha, or Vrindavan Dham, the abode of Lord Krishna. So we are travelers here, wanderers here. We are not meant to be here forever. And that's why Krishna doesn't make this, the place of perfect happiness. Because if he came and solved all the problems of humanity, all the problems of mankind, whatever they may be, social, political, or whatever, then we would start thinking, oh, it's pretty good here, actually. We like it. We like it here. I think we'll stay. But, that would be actually detrimental to ourselves, because here we are all like fish out of water. We're not meant to live in this material world, because the material world by its nature is matter. And the soul cannot interact with matter. So we have to be put into these like suits, which are these material flesh and blood bodies, before we can interact with the material world. It's like if you go into space, and you have to leave the spacecraft. You have to put on a spacesuit, isn't it? So that you can breathe and so that you can move around there. So otherwise you'll just immediately die. So similarly, the soul has to put on this flesh and blood suit so that he can move within this material world and interact with this material world. But it's limited. Our relationships are all limited. There's one material body suit interacting with many other body suits, if you like. And we never see each other, actually who we are, because we are spiritual. We don't see ourselves and we don't see others. So we can see that everything is like a big illusion. It's like when you're playing a computer game and you take on some avatar. Strangely, they call it an avatar, or actually quite appropriately, when you're in the computer game and you're somebody else, or you're a animated version of yourself or whatever, and you can do things there that you can't normally do, and you may be interacting with people and everything, but you don't. Or at least you shouldn't start identifying with that character that you are in the computer game. When you're going through these different landscapes and interacting with different people and doing various things, whatever it may be in that type of computer game, you always should remember that it's just a game. It's not real, and sooner or later you have to put down your controller or whatever it is, and come back to the real world, this material world where we live in. You can't just live your life in a computer game. For one thing is you won't survive for very long. But sometimes it happens. I read an article about a boy in Germany that he was so obsessed, a teenage boy, he was so obsessed with computer games that he wouldn't come out of his room, and his mother had to leave his meal outside of his bedroom, knock on the door, tell him, son, your dinner's here, and he wouldn't let her in the room, and sometimes he would eat it, sometimes he wouldn't eat it, but always he's like on that computer interacting with people in a virtual way, in the virtual world, as an avatar in this computer game. And they got so concerned about him, wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating, wasn't, like living in any normal, sane way anymore. So they turned off the internet connection, and so he couldn't interact with anybody in this computer game. It's an online game, and so he became so incensed that he tried to kill his mother and father. And in the end, he had to be committed to a mental asylum. So this is, and maybe it's very extreme and very rare that something happens like that, but still, that's our situation here. Our situation is that we're identifying with this flesh suit, and thinking that it's us. This avatar, if you like, of us that we see in the mirror, that we see looking back at us, that we think are all these thoughts and emotions and all of these relationships that we have. We think this is actually who we are. And the problem with that is that it's not true. That is called Maya. Maya means that which is not, illusion. And we're all trapped by Maya. Daivi esha gunamayi mama maya daratyaya. Krishna says in the Gita, nobody can cross this divine energy of mine. Daivi means divine energy of mine, Mahamaya. Mahamaya, she is my goddess and she is my servant, and her job is to put everybody into illusion. So we're all thinking that we are who we see in the mirror. We are thinking that our thoughts, that our acquired prejudices, our acquired conditioning, all of these things are who we are, and so we act according to that, and everything in relation to that. I am this body, and the goal of my life is to satisfy this body and everything that relates to it. My family, my society, my country, my whatever it may be. And this way we are bound up in the cycle of birth and death, the cycle of samsara, eternally. We can't get free from it. And we are thinking that everything is very important. And more we're becoming entangled in this web of Maya. Just think about it, right? That for the last 3 months or whatever, all of the shops, apart from the food shops, more or less, have been closed. Food and medicine, that's what you've been allowed to get. Now, from next week, they're going to be opening other, what they say, non-essential shops. But isn't it a fact, right, that all of this time, all of those shops have been closed, and we're all surviving. We're all living without those things. So what we should learn from that is that we didn't need any of those things to begin with. We're brainwashed by advertising that our life will be more fulfilling if we have this thing and that thing and all the other things that you can buy in the shops. And that nowadays, especially in the modern age, consumerism is the religion of our age. To buy and consume. And they want you to do that. Buy more, consume more. And these shopping malls like Blue Water and what's that one? The one in Stratford, I forget the name of it now. But those places, they're the new temples. The new temples where we go to worship the goddess of consumerism and sacrifice our hard-earned money on the altar of consumerism. You need this new set of clothes, or you need this new television, or you need whatever it may be, and there you'll get all your desires fulfilled in the temple of the goddess of consumerism. It's another type of Maya. Actually, we don't need very much. And if we should take anything from the current pandemic situation is that we should try to simplify our lives. Srila Prabhupada A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, his teaching was simple living and high thinking. Live simply, live within your means, and think about high things. Talk about high things. Aspire for higher things, subtle things, spiritual things. Because you are spiritual. Your nature is spiritual. And nothing in this material world will give you real satisfaction. Only when the spiritual man connects with the spiritual plane will he be properly fulfilled. So, simple living and high thinking. That should be our goal. To try and simplify our lives. To simplify all the encumbrance and everything that we have in this lifetime. Live simply and spend your energy for discussing the really important subjects of life. Why am I here? Why am I suffering? Who am I? Who is God? And what should be my relationship with Him, my relationship with the world? All of these things, they're the proper questions for human beings. Excuse me. The human form of life, where we've heard it so many times that it's rarely attained. And when we utilize our human form of life for the higher purpose of God realization and self-realization, then that's the proper utility of this human life. We shouldn't just be interested in what Srila Prabhupada used to call polished animalism. That means that the animals, they're sleeping, they're eating, they're mating, and they're defending. So all animals do that, and all human beings also do that. But we shouldn't make that the goal of our life. So whether you sleep under a tree, or whether you sleep in a fine, luxurious bed, sleeping is still the same activity. And whether you eat with claws and fangs, or whether you eat in a 5-star restaurant, the act of eating is the same thing. So it's sleeping, eating, and mating. Whether the animals, they just rut in the streets or rut in the forest, don't care about anything, or whether you make some arrangement for yourself for mating in a very nice bedroom with soft lights and wine and music and all of those things. It's still just mating, procreation, and defending. So the animals defend themselves with their teeth and their claws, and human beings defend themselves by getting a gun or making a bomb or whatever it may be. The activity is still the same. But what an animal can never do is contemplate their place in the universe, contemplate whether there is a God and what should be our relationship to Him. These things are the province of the human form of life. You will only get this opportunity to make this kind of inquiry within the human form of life. But rather we utilize our time for useless endeavors, for just polished animalism. But that won't give us any real satisfaction. And what will be the result? The result of just remaining on the animal platform of life is that in our next life we will again be animals, because you can get a much more suitable body for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending in the animal kingdom. The human form of life is not meant for that. And also the human form of life is not meant for seeking out comfort and convenience. The human form of life is meant to inquire after God. The human form of life is meant for sacrifice. We are meant to sacrifice ourselves for the service of God, in the service of God. And when we do that, We will attain to the plane of God. Not that we will become God, but we'll be able to enter into the plane where God exists as his eternal servants. And that actually is why he created us. That's our raison d'etre, if you like. Our reason for being is simply to be useful to him, to be used by him in any way that he sees fit. And the very fact that he is the all love, all kindness, all sympathy, all harmony, all beauty, he's the embodiment of all those things. Happiness himself, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the all-attractive one, reality, the beautiful. Because he is that, then to be used by him is the greatest fortune that anyone could ever hope for, or imagine, or aspire to. You know, as the song says, we want to be slaves of love, but not love of this material world. That love of this material world that in one moment we love somebody with all our heart, and the next moment we hate that person with a vengeance, the very same person. That's not the kind of love we're speaking about. The Greek philosophers, they understood that love between, men and women in this material world is not the same as love between God and man. So they gave that love, in Greek it's called agape. Agape means love of man to God and God to man. So that's a different kind of love, a higher kind of love. You can say love with a capital L, not love with a small l. And when you have that, you have everything. So this is our proposal. Sridhar Maharaj, he would say, is this proposal a madman's proposal? That by getting this one thing, you get everything. By knowing this one thing, you know everything. Seems like a madman's proposal. Just one thing. And what is that one thing? The service of Lord Krishna. If you have Krishna, then you have everything. And if you know Krishna, then you know everything. That's all. So, nobody can know everything in this material world. And nobody can have everything in this material world. But when you align yourself with the Lord of the whole creation, then you get everything. You become the heir to everything. It's a very simple thing. Like a girl born in poverty and may not get the chance to rise very high in society, but if somehow she meets a prince and marries the prince, and then she'll get everything. Everything that the prince has, she'll be equally entitled to that. So Srila Govinda Maharaj used to say, merge your account with Krishna's account. Then you'll see that you have everything, because he is the cause of everything. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. This is the beginning of Brahma Samhita, 5th chapter, Brahma Samhita, as discovered and relished by Sri Chaitanya Dev himself. The prayers of Lord Brahma. Ishvara Parama Krishna. That Krishna, he is the Parameshwara, the supreme controller and the supreme enjoyer of everything. Satchid Ananda Vigraha. He's the very embodiment of truth, beauty, consciousness, and bliss. Satchid Ananda. The very embodiment of that. Vigraha. Vigraha means that. Anadir Adir Govinda. He is the original cowherd boy of Vrindavan. Sarva Karana Karanam. And he is the cause of all causes. This is God. This means God. Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the Parameshvara. He is the cause of everything, cause of all of the material and spiritual worlds, the cause of even Narayana Vaikuntha. He is the cause. This is proven in the scripture. So, and he is that Lord that we worship and adore. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. We worship that Lord Govinda. He is our Lord. And if we have him, then we have everything. And if we know him, then we know everything. Now, this is the purpose of human life. We should try to understand what fortune we have to have been able to come in contact with this kind of conception. We may be in the material world in illusion, but Krishna is so kind that he comes to the world, either himself or through his devotee, and wakes us up, or tries to wake us up back to reality. Come home. Why are you suffering in this foreign land? Come home. And when you are home, you will find everything is there for you. Your home comfort is there. When we are wandering in a foreign land, we make some arrangement for ourselves, to try and find our food. It may not be the food that we normally eat. We may not be with the people that we love. So many things that we will have to accept temporarily. But when we come home, everything is there. And home means where everybody cares more about you than you can care for your own self. They make sure you have everything you need and make sure that everything is as it should be for you. So this is home comfort. Srila Guru Maharaj would speak about that. And there's, from the maybe 1980s or something, there was a book, famous book, in sort of new age self-help book, and it was called All Sickness is Homesickness. So I've never read the book, but the title rings true, that all sickness in this world, all suffering in this material world is homesickness. Because we are longing and hankering for our home. We want to go home, and we can't even know where our home is unless that's revealed to us by Krishna's devotees. The saints and the sages, they all try to guide us in the right way. Wake up and arise from your sleep. You've been sleeping on the lap of Maya for so long. Now wake up and search for your fortune. Search for Sri Krishna, reality, the beautiful. And when you try to search for him, he will provide everything that you need. When you earnestly look for him, to try to connect with him, he will make all arrangements to connect with you. He's so kind and so merciful. So we are beggars for that. We are beggars for the grace and mercy of God. We want to connect with him. And the only way to connect with him is through his devotee. What does that mean, to connect with his devotee? It means through service. Through service. Krishna's given this clue in Bhagavad Gita. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So that means you can see that Bhagavad Gita is spoken for us, and Arjuna is our proxy. So in his you can say dark night of the soul, when he's in feeling destitute and abandoned, he surrenders himself to the Lord, and the Lord gives him instruction to lift him up, to help him to connect with his true identity, and to realize his ultimate spiritual potential. And Krishna's giving him that advice for us. So, but we can see, right, that Krishna, he is directly Arjun's guru. In the case of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is Arjun's guru. But right in the middle of his teaching, he tells him, you must approach a spiritual master. Approach a genuine spiritual master and inquire from him. You must approach him with these three qualifications. First is pranipat. And pranipat means exclusive regard. Not just as a, like spiritual tourist going here and going there. No, I've finished with that. And now I've come to the end of my seeking. And now I accept you and what you are teaching. You are my master. I want to hear from you what is good for me. Pranipat, exclusive regard. And pariprashna. Pariprashna means proper inquiry. Relevant inquiry, not just like shopping or something, or as Guru Maharaj used to say, an inquiry booth, not just for inquisitive inquiry, but substantial inquiry. That means, who am I? Why am I suffering? What is my purpose in this world? These are all proper questions that we should ask a spiritual guide. And last but not least of those three, sevaya, to serve. And why do we have to serve? Because the spiritual world is the domain of service. Everyone there is a servant. And in the ego of a servant, we get our fulfillment. We get our fulfillment when we understand that we are meant for him. And Mahaprabhu himself says, Naham vipro narapatir napi vaisho na shudro, naham varni na chagriha, na vanastir jatirva, kintu prajannikila paramananda punamritabde, gopi bharta pada kamalayor, das anudas. What does that mean? Mahaprabhu says, I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya or a Shudra. That means, I'm not a priest or intellectual. I'm not a warrior or administrator. I'm not a merchant or a farmer. I'm not a laborer. I'm not any of those things. Naham varni na chagriha na vanastir jatirva. I'm not a brahmachari, a celibate. I'm not a grihastha, a householder, married person. I'm not a retired person. I'm not a sannyasi. I'm not a renounced person. I'm not any of those things either. Then what am I? If I'm none of those things, these are all things that relate to Varnashram, which is the system of religion in India. Mahaprabhu says, I don't identify with any of those things. Then what is my identification? Simply that I am the servant of the servant of a servant of Lord Krishna, the ever-expanding ocean of joy, the master of the gopis. That's my identity. And that's our identity, actually. Although we may not realize that, although we may be far away from that, that should be our aspiration. Das anudas is not just hyperbole or some kind of poetic expression. Servant of the Lord's servant. That should be our aspiration. We can't be Mother Jashoda or Nanda Maharaj. We can't be Arjuna. We can't be Radharani. We can't be Subal. We can't be... And they're all of those places are eternally established. So Guru Maharaj said, not first line service, maybe not even second line, but third line, and maybe more, but any kind of connection with the Lord will give us our proper and ultimate fulfillment in life. Whatever is not that we will be satisfied with second best. Where we are meant to be is where we are meant to be, and that is the whole adventure of spiritual life is to discover that in the proper way, to discover that in the proper way. And when we find out that, when we find that out, where is our place in the orbit around the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, we will find that our ultimate fulfillment in life. And there is nothing else worth endeavoring for in this world. As I say, material world, but nothing in the material world or the spiritual world that is worth endeavoring for, except to find out who we are, to awaken from our illusory life and enter into our life of reality. So Guru Maharaj's expression, die to live. Die to live. That means what we are now, that misconceived idea of who we are now, that must die. And when that will die, rising from the ashes like the phoenix, our golden self, our true self. And Guru Maharaj said, your real self is so high and so noble that if once you meet yourself, your soul, you'll feel ashamed. Oh, that idea of who I thought I was, so mean, so poor, so ugly. But who I really am, that is so high, so noble, so wonderful. And what to speak of our own selves when we can meet the Paramatma, the Lord within the heart, we will be astounded. Now this is the prospect. This is the prospect afforded to us if we properly utilize this human form of life. And we can do that. Every one of us can do that. Once we were sitting with Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj in Navadvip, and he was speaking so many beautiful things about the spiritual world, about the spiritual life, about, the relationship of Krishna with his devotees. And it was so charming, so wonderful. And when he had finished, we were all, like sitting, just thinking, oh, this is like so beautiful, if this moment could last forever. And then then Guru Maharaj said, any questions? Anyone has any questions? And one lady, she said, Guru Maharaj, yes. Can we all go there? And Guru Maharaj said, yes, of course, we can all go there. Because Krishna is unlimited. He is the infinite. And the infinite means that he has infinite capacity. He can satisfy every one of us. It's not that we'll go there and be forgotten about, or we'll just be sitting in the background and Krishna never notices us. No, he has such infinite capacity that he can give the fulfillment to us beyond our wildest expectations. That every atom of our soul's being will find its reciprocal part in him. And this is the prospect of Krishna consciousness. It is the only religion in the world where 24-hour-a-day service is possible. And what type of service? Service which can go to the highest degree of Madhura Rasa, which means to be a lover of God in every sense. In every sense, a lover of God. And he will be our lover. It is inconceivable, not possible to find in anywhere in the world, anywhere in any religious text, except the teachings of Lord Krishna that we find in Srimad Bhagavatam, and that which was taught and shown in the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is our great fortune. We cannot understand how such great fortune has come upon us. Only by the mercy of Lord Krishna. How kind is he? How merciful is he? Who should we go to other than him? So this is my talk for today. I hope it may be some inspiration to you. I hope that we will be able to discuss more and more about the wonderful nature of Lord Krishna, about the wonderful mercy of Sri Chaitanya Dev and his devotees, and that we will be able to spend our life and life after life in this kind of pursuit. That is my hope and prayer and ambition for this life and every life. And today we try to invoke the mercy of the Vaishnavas, headed by Brakeshwara Pandit, that great associate, Parshada devotee of Sri Chaitanya Dev, and both in Mahaprabhu's Leela and Krishna's Leela, we beg for the mercy of such a great soul upon us. I'm going to end my talk today. Hope you will join with me again next week, and please keep watching our Facebook page for more information about the reopening of the temple in Green Street, step by step. And we hope that you will come. We'll make the effort to come when you can, to try and have darshan of the Lord and do a little service. And this way we can try to progress in Krishna consciousness and progress in our spiritual life, back to home, back to Godhead. Thank you all very much. My humble obeisances to you all. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindhubhyevacha, patitanam pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai, all glories are to our spiritual guardians, our gurus and masters, at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.